Hey everyone, I'm here to do an update that's probably been long overdue. I've had some people request to know what's going on, and I apologize. It's really hard to do this for several reasons. Before I get into this though, I just want you to know my husband got me this lovely new camera for Christmas, and it was very sweet, but it's really hard to use this instead of a webcam because I'm used to kind of looking at a face on a screen, and here I'm like staring into this black void. So if my eyeline goes a little skew wonky, it's because I'm looking for a face. But I've just been busy actually just working on various things, projects that are related to the cause but not necessarily on my channel. And of course just trying to live life. The more capable I sort of become, the more responsibilities I take on, and yet at the same time I am still dealing with some limitations, so it makes it hard to sort of fit everything in. Before I get too much into my update, I want people to understand something, because sometimes people get a little freaked out by my story, and sometimes those people are freaked out because they see me in these videos where like one of them I was still tapering, or some of them right after I taper, where I just look so good and I'm so eloquent or whatever, and I seem to be so with it, and they get a little frustrated because they're thinking, well, I'm not doing that well, and gosh, she looks really good. But please understand that I have never made a video unless I was in the middle of a really awesome window. I never make videos unless I'm doing really, really well. So you're seeing me at my very, very best, which is kind of sad when you look back at some of my old videos, right? Because that was me at my best. Also for the people who get freaked out when they look at me and they think, I can't go through like 2 years of being completely non-functional and then 3 years post-recovery and all of that. Also understand that my story is not your story. It's very complicated. I'm still piecing it together, especially now that I'm writing a book, which I originally said no to. And then I was convinced that it would be a good thing, and it is a good thing because, like I said, it's helped me to sort of really understand my story better. It's really hard to go back and remember all that stuff, but I'm hoping this will be a good thing. That will help a lot of people. But anyway, as I go back and I look through my story, I mean, you guys, I cold turkeyed off of Ambien after having 3 months of an adverse reaction to it, which I was not aware of because I was in a hospital and being pumped full of other drugs. I didn't know what was what. Then I cold turkeyed off a second time and had, benzo withdrawal syndrome, not as bad as later on, but full-on benzo withdrawal syndrome. Then I still don't know what's going on, so I get put on Ativan. For 3.5 years, I continue to take this medication, and in the meantime, I'm taking Cymbalta, which I cold turkeyed off of. So now you've got 3 cold turkeys, plus the progesterone that I started to help me taper off this stuff. I didn't know if it was helping me or not, and we moved, and I didn't keep up with my prescription, so I cold turkeyed off of progesterone, which totally affects these receptors. So that's 4 cold turkeys before even beginning to taper off of this. Then I get floxed twice. And for those of you who don't know what being floxed is, it's central nervous system injury, but from a fluoroquinolone antibiotic. I mean, these things have a black box warning now. Your tendons can rupture, tissue breaks down, people die from this, and this happened to me twice while I was pregnant, right before beginning my taper. And then of course I start a rapid taper, I have a miscarriage, and then I take all these supplements. I go online and I find this company, these drugs can help you get off these drugs, right? Well, they're supplements. And they're all GABA agonists. They're like all these GABA agonists, these things that you are not supposed to take when you're going through this process. I took them. So I did everything wrong that you could possibly do during this process. And I mean, really, just from the quinolones alone, I should be dead. So yeah, I have a lot of injury, a lot of problems that I'm recovering from. So for me, like right now, 3 years later, being to a point where I feel like I might actually be able to hold down a part-time job is huge. Like maybe I could do that now. I've just went through a really bad wave. It lasted about a month, really probably more like 2 months. And I was getting really frustrated. I'm like, what what is going on? Why am I doing so poorly? A lot of it had to do with sleep, but then there's also a lot of pain. There's this really just this bad neuralgia that I get. It's really disabling, and it's kind of in here in this area, and it's not on the outside, it's like on the inside too. So it goes up into my mouth and my face and my eyes, and it makes it hard to see, and it makes it hard to talk. And then sometimes that'll turn in also to a migraine. So yeah, I was just kind of to the point where I'm like, okay, is this how I'm going to be for the rest of my life? What's going on? And I think every time we kind of have a setback, that fear hits us like, oh no, I didn't heal, or I'm never going to heal from this. But we do, and usually we're actually a lot better after we go through these bad waves. Like Geraldine Burns, who, if you don't know her, she's really kind of the matriarch of the benzo community. She told me she had been through the same thing at 3 years. Somebody else also told me that. I can't remember who. So that was really comforting, and I did get through it. One of the things that has really helped me, besides nutrition, which I know I've gone on and on about, and I am doing the ketogenic diet, and I am doing a lot of supplements, which I find are crucial for me. If I don't, I do get the symptoms. But I've been able to exercise, like really exercise, which is not something I've been able to do for almost, well, for like 4.5, 5 years now, ever since this taper, really. And probably since having been floxed, because I think this has more to do with that. Because if I did anything more than just super light movement, I would have joints that would dislocate or get out of joint. I mean, I would just reach over to lift something and my shoulder would go out. Or I would sneeze, literally, I would sneeze. And I would have a rib pop out and my muscles would tear and I couldn't breathe, you know, and I'd have to go in and get it set. So anything beyond just something super light, and even then I could just turn my head and something would go out. It was insane. I would just risk injury. And now all of a sudden I'm to the point where I can exercise, I can do things, and there's still that little bit of fear in the back of my head, like, oh no, is this gonna hurt me? But I've been totally fine for several months now, and I find that exercise is really helping with the lack of sleep. Even though I'm not getting as much sleep as before, I just seem to be more awake. In fact, I find that too much sleep actually causes some of these symptoms to get worse. It really is kind of just this tightrope that we walk sometimes, but you have to really, I say just keep trying. You never know when you might be ready to turn that corner and try something new and move forward. I mean, even with this last wave, I couldn't exercise again for a little while because I was exhausted, and I would try to exercise and I wouldn't do well, and then finally one day I exercised and boom, it helped, you know, and I've been getting better. So just hang in there. It really can take years and years to heal from this when you're so bad and you've had all these complicating factors. But it really can happen, you guys. And I would also just say, don't, this is something I got from this program that I did, but don't should all over yourself. Don't be like, I should do this and I should be doing that, and da-da-da, especially if you're just right in that first year where you're just starting to feel like, okay, I'm improving, I can see myself turning a corner. You start to feel like guilt. You know, you're like, oh, I should be doing this and I should be on top of this and all these things that I haven't been doing in such a long time. And honestly, if I could say anything, if you can at all, because I know sometimes life doesn't give us a choice, we have to do things, but if you can, take it easy. If you just feel like sitting there and watching TV or reading a book, don't make yourself feel guilty like you're being lazy or something, because you're not. I promise you that when you feel well enough to go and organize your garage or, you know, take a part-time job or whatever it is, you will have the energy to do that. You will feel motivated to do that because that's who you are. Whoever you were before all this, you're still the same person. You're not lazy. You're not suddenly some loser who doesn't ever want to do anything. It's just your body's way of telling you that you still need to convalesce. Because really, the whole first part was dealing with the trauma. You're going through hell, and it's post that where you need to recuperate, right? Anyway, so that's just a little pearl of wisdom from me there. It's been interesting. It's been interesting how my perspective changes as I continue to heal and I look back on my life and back on things, man, and I just realize how important it is to be able to talk about this in a way that is not withdrawal related, that's not drug related. I've said that again in videos so many times, so I won't go into that too much, but part of some of the efforts that I'm actually getting involved with now are with the broader conversation, because as I heal, I realize, you know, this isn't just about benzo people. You have people who are on psychiatric medications. You have the people who've been injured by antibiotics or pain medications, and they have the same problems that we do. And yes, there are different levels of suffering and whatever, but it really is the same problem. And so I'm going to be working with this local nonprofit. Hopefully this is all kind of new and in the works, but to really focus on this problem in my hometown, in Utah, and change the mental health dialogue and the prescribing practices here. Because I think the more that we can discuss this as this overarching problem with iatrogenic illness for many people who are prescribed medications, particularly psychiatric medications, the more we can evolve, our dialogue can evolve, the more people can relate and understand what we're talking about. So anyway, I hope you will be able to get into all of that a bit more later, but I just want you guys to know that I'm very, very hopeful. I can lead a pretty normal life now. Even during this last school year, I couldn't really volunteer for field trips and things like that because I really never knew from one day to the next how it's going to be. But I feel like I'm at this point where I'm actually really pretty consistent. And of course, who knows, I could have another wave. You never know. But I have more good days than bad. And I feel like I can plan things. I feel like I can plan my life a little bit more. I think I say that in every video, and it's true in every video. You think you get to this point where you're like, wow, I'm doing really well, and you are, and you're grateful for that, and then all of a sudden the next year you're like, no, I'm doing way better now than I was then. I mean, even just with little minor things that I'm staying on top of now, like, I don't know, paperwork or just scheduling things, stuff that used to be difficult for me just comes to me so easily now, or just makes sense to me. I don't have to think about it as hard. I just do it. I think it's still, I think if we realized how far we had to go throughout the entire process, it would be a lot more disheartening, but we don't quite have that perspective, and so it's any sort of little advancement we make is actually really nice. But I think that's pretty much it for this update. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting this channel. Your support really is helping me then to take this and use it to further the cause in other ways, to advance awareness, to educate people in so many different ways. So please continue to watch, and I wish everybody here a full recovery and a full life afterwards. So, bye.